The strike on Doha was shocking, but what if it's just a test run for bigger targets? Israel has already shown it's willing to bomb a Gulf capital that hosts U.S. troops. So, the real question is, if even Qatar isn't safe, then which country is next on Netanyahu's list? Tonight, we break down the most vulnerable states, from Turkey to Malaysia, and why the entire region is holding its breath. Israel doesn't strike abroad at random. Every operation, whether in Gaza, Beirut, or Doha, follows a very clear logic, and understanding that logic is key to predicting where the next missile might land. First, there's the simple goal of eliminating Hamas leadership. Hamas commanders know Gaza isn't safe, so many relocate to places like Doha, Istanbul, or Beirut. For Israel, that's unacceptable. The message is blunt. If you hide Hamas officials abroad, don't expect immunity. No city is too far, and no border is too sacred when it comes to hunting them down. Second, these strikes are about retaliation and deterrence. The Doha attack came just one day after a deadly shooting in Jerusalem. For decades, Israel has followed a pattern. When Israelis are killed, the response is swift, often dramatic, and designed to scare rivals into thinking twice before striking again. At home, this is also a performance. Proof to Israeli citizens that their leaders will avenge blood with firepower. But retaliation isn't the only reason. There's also pressure. Countries like Qatar, Turkey, and even Egypt play double roles. They host Hamas leaders under the banner of political offices, while simultaneously presenting themselves as peace mediators. Israel sees this as hypocrisy. By striking Hamas leaders abroad, Israel sends a warning: kick them out or we'll do it for you. Then there's psychological warfare. These attacks are meant to create paranoia inside Hamas itself. If their leaders aren't safe in Gaza, Beirut, or even wealthy Gulf capitals, then where can they ever feel secure? That constant fear drains morale, slows decision-making, and forces Hamas to stay on the run instead of plotting in comfort. On another level, Israel is shifting the battlefield. By pushing the fight into foreign capitals, Israel makes sure Hamas can't regroup or plan from a safe distance. Instead, the group spends more energy dodging assassinations than directing the war in Gaza. But every strike also carries a regional message. Israel isn't just talking to Hamas. It's talking to Iran, Hezbollah, and every Arab government that gives Hamas a platform. The message is clear: shelter them, and we'll come knocking. That's as much about diplomacy as it is about warfare. And finally, we can't ignore domestic politics. For Netanyahu, these operations abroad play well at home. Each strike is proof to voters that he's decisive, ruthless, and willing to cross borders to defend Israeli lives. For a leader constantly under political pressure, that image is valuable. In short, Israel's overseas strikes are about far more than killing militants. They're about deterrence, pressure, paranoia, regional signaling, and politics. A deadly cocktail that explains why Doha was just the beginning. So let's count down the countries that could be next in Netanyahu's crosshairs. Algeria has positioned itself as one of Hamas's most vocal allies in North Africa. Algerian leaders openly defend Hamas at the UN and provide a political stage for its delegations. For example, in late 2022, Algeria hosted reconciliation talks between Palestinian factions, including Hamas, on its own soil. That puts Algiers directly on Israel's radar. The challenge is geography. Algeria is far from Israel's traditional battlegrounds, and a strike there would drag the conflict into North Africa. A risky escalation. But Israel has already proven with Qatar that it is willing to cross borders and break taboos. So the question remains, Would Netanyahu risk alienating all of North Africa by targeting Algeria? Sudan is not new territory for Israel. Between 2009 and 2012, Israel reportedly carried out a series of airstrikes on Sudanese soil, targeting convoys believed to be smuggling Iranian weapons to Gaza. In one 2012 strike, Sudan even accused Israel of bombing an arms factory in Khartoum. Today, Sudan is politically fractured and plagued by civil conflict, making it a soft target for covert operations. Hamas has maintained long-standing smuggling and logistics networks there, which Israel views as a direct threat. Given Israel's past operations, Sudan is not just a possibility, it's already been a battlefield. And in its current weakened state, Sudan might be the easiest country on this list for Israel to strike again. Malaysia is half a world away, yet it has become a quiet hub for Hamas activity. In 2018, Hamas-affiliated engineer Fadi al-Bach was shot dead by two men on a motorcycle in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysian authorities immediately blamed Mossad for the assassination, claiming al-Bach was developing drone and rocket technology for Hamas. Reports since then suggest Mossad has built networks in Southeast Asia, including attempts to kidnap Palestinians with ties to Hamas. For Israel, Malaysia represents the scientific and technological wing of Hamas's global network, a place where engineers work far from Gaza. And if al-Bach was the first target, should Malaysia now be worried about who might be next? Turkey is perhaps the boldest and most complicated case. For years, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been one of Hamas's loudest defenders. Senior Hamas officials, including Saleh al-Aruri before his assassination, were known to operate from Turkey. Reports from 2020 revealed that Hamas operatives were even using Turkey to plan attacks and manage financial operations. But striking Turkey is not like striking Sudan or Gaza. Turkey is a NATO member, deeply tied to the West. Any Israeli operation on Turkish soil would risk sparking a full-scale diplomatic crisis. Still, Israel has shocked the world before, like when it assassinated Hamas leaders in Dubai back in 2010. And so, the possibility cannot be dismissed. A strike in Istanbul wouldn't just be an attack, it would be a diplomatic earthquake. Finally, we circle back to Qatar, the country already hit by Israel. Doha has long hosted Hamas political leadership, with figures like Ismail Haniyeh and Khaled Mashal finding sanctuary there. Even after the strike, Hamas's presence in Qatar hasn't vanished, and that makes Doha still the most likely future target. Remember, Israel didn't hesitate once. And if Netanyahu wants to send the ultimate message that even America's closest Gulf ally cannot protect Hamas, then another strike on Qatar may not just be possible, it may be inevitable. What Israel is doing here is more than military action. It's rewriting the rules of sovereignty in the Middle East by striking in Doha and threatening capitals from Algiers to Istanbul. Israel is sending a message that borders no longer guarantee safety. For decades, Arab governments could host Hamas leaders and believe that the fight would remain confined to Gaza. That illusion is gone. No capital city is untouchable anymore. Not in North Africa, not in Southeast Asia, not even in the heart of NATO territory. Israel has proven it can and will strike wherever it believes Hamas is hiding. And that shifts the balance of power far beyond the battlefield. It destabilizes diplomacy, reshapes alliances, and forces every state in the region to ask, if Qatar isn't safe, then who is? So the real story isn't just about which country is next, it's about how the very map of the Middle East is being redrawn by missiles, assassinations, and political gambles. The war with Hamas may have started in Gaza, but its shadow now looms over every capital that dares to give Hamas a home. So, what happens if Israel takes this fight into Turkey or Malaysia? Would that cross the line from targeted strikes into the first sparks of a regional war? We're entering uncharted territory, where one missile in the wrong capital could set the entire Middle East on fire. And now I want to hear from you. Which country do you think is most at risk? Turkey, Malaysia, or somewhere else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading every single one. And don't forget, in the next video, we'll be asking a question nobody wants to face. Can the United States even stop Israel anymore?